Welcome to the MVP Show. Today I'm chatting with George Doubinski. If you like him here, you should check out his video on MVP Mondays. On my YouTube channel, you can find it at youtube.com/NZ365Guy. It'll give you a laugh. Can I ask you to do me a favor? If you enjoy the show, please leave a comment on iTunes by going to nz365guy.com/iTunes. Now, let's get the show started.
There's a knife in my heart and a storm in my hand.
Okay, I'm here with George Doubinski, and he's an old friend of mine from Sydney. He's lived all over the world. I pick Moscow, Ukraine, New Zealand, Australia. Where haven't you lived, George?
Elsewhere.
Elsewhere? Are those the top 4 countries you've lived in? Well, Moscow City, but
No, I mean,
Russia, of course.
on a permanent basis, yeah. But I've been to a few countries, let's put it this way. As we speaking now, we're talking now from sunny Seattle, and I'm telling it without tongue in cheek. It's been really hot in Seattle, so so been traveling a bit.
It's unusual being here at this time of the year, right? Where it's so warm. When we're used to coming up here for Summit, where it's a couple of degrees cooler than this.
Yeah, absolutely. But now I know that Seattle is not always rainy and miserable, so it actually can be quite lovely, sunny, and even hot. So you can go for a swim, and you can go for a ride, and you can go for skiing. So I kind of dig why some people love it here. It's very nice.
I've worked out that I generally call you George Doubinski, but it's, Doubinski? It's Doubinski, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, it depends whether you want to say it.
No, Doubinski. I've called you Doubinski. But it's Doubinski, right?
Yeah, it's Doubinski, yeah.
Doubinski. It was when you introduced yourself at the start of the week when we were doing this project.
I give you a discount for the Kiwi accent. So.
Excellent. So listen, I just got you on the podcast, MVP. You've been probably one of the longest standing MVPs around, definitely.
Yeah, people do drop out, yeah. So I'm only a couple left, three that I can think of who longer serving MVPs. I've been since 2007, I think.
So I've got a question around contribution. So part of what MVPs do is they contribute to the community, and if you like, they're part of the rising tide. If you like, they provide the rising tide, if you like, for a lot of people, across their careers. What do you do, or what have you done? Because you've been doing this a long time to kind of keep the contribution fresh. What do you do?
Well, a lot of people, they contribute, they kind of pick up the sanctioned channels or authorized channels and saying, how Microsoft measures contributions. It's like how many ears, how many eyes did you reach, right? So what is your reach? Say, if you're talking, let's say, at the local user group, and user group is like once a month and it's 20 people, you can talk, every month to this 20 people, but all you're reaching for is 20 people. So they measured how many people you passed the knowledge to, how many people were kind of influenced by your contributions. So right now, the most common channels are probably blogs and Twitter. We kind of podcasts. I'll get to that in a second. And then, historically, that's not always been the case, right? So when we started when I started contributing in 2006, the main channel of contribution was groups. I don't even remember what they were called. the ones that you synchronized, it's kind of user groups, but not online. You would synchronize them. You could do it online, but most popular method was you would synchronize them through Outlook. You get them offline, then you kind of go through, you give some answers, and you synchronize back and get your answers back. So, and I did, I really liked the format, and I did a lot of contributions at that time, answered a lot of questions, got even complimented by Michael Hearn, who's no longer MVP, but some people may remember Stanware and filtered lookups. What would we do without them? And then I got nominated. I didn't expect it. That's probably what was different. It's kind of right now people are in the hunt for MVP nominations. People know it is a thing, and people get some mentoring. How can I become one? Right? Back then, it's kind of, I was just doing this thing that I liked, and it just happened. So then I've been doing these groups, and people joined in, and more people, and it started like to become a competition, like who's answering first. And even now, it's a thing, like who answers first. And
is this like on the forums nowadays?
Yeah, it was news groups. Then it became forums, and it's kind of same thing. So who answers first, and so on. It's kind of simplified version of Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is basically the same thing taken to extreme. But then I kind of got bored, and I started to think, what else can we contribute? So I started looking around, what else can I do? And I was writing a blog for a bit, but wasn't frequent. And I started the TechNet Wiki. I think it's still around. You can find some articles on 2011 and even 2013. I don't quite remember what is there now. It got stale a bit, but when we started in, I think around 2010, around that time, sort of I joined the wiki team at TechNet, and the one thing what was really, really good is that TechNet, the Microsoft domains in general, people need to realize that they've got Google juice like no tomorrow. You publish something, and they preferred by crawlers like Google. They index virtually instantly, and they get really, really good high rankings. So TechNet articles ranked really high, so started contributing, other people got involved, so we've done it for a few years. Then it's kind of got life of its own. I never was a big fan of the platform they're using. They use Lithium or Intelligent, whatever. I never was a big fan. It had limitations, and as in any corporate environment, it was kind of, I can't do X. Well, tough luck.
No, but I heard on that platform that basically then a bunch of people started getting on and almost like botting it, and that they would, add or create or edit a sentence or something, and that would increase their stats or how much their contribution was.
Yeah,
and it became
people started gaming.
False.
As with any system, people start gaming the system. So something like you go into article and you kind of delete a space or add a space, and you save it, and you're the last editor, and you get points for editing, and the system wasn't even checking how much did you edit, what did you do, and things like that. So I got a bit tired of that, and then I saw the Office 365 tip of the day or something like this, and I thought, oh, that's a great idea. So I shouted to fellow MVPs, hey, who wants to do that? Because I did realize that it's impossible for one person contribute every day. So I did the shout, and basically I had Jerry Weinstock and Jarl Lindstrom joining me, and we started contributing, and it was going really well. We kind of contributed without thinking too much, and I think people do think too much about, backlinks and, how I'm going to get index, how to get to the top of the, pile in searches and things like that. regardless what you do, content drives it. So we were doing like tip a day, business days only, but tip a day for a while, and then we started slowly started growing to the top, bubbling up to the top of the list. So we kind of got some juice, got some readers, so it was going extremely well. Then the one thing I realized probably halfway in, or even like 6 months in, I realized that Office 365 tip of the day, they didn't mean every day. They were like posting once a fortnight or something. I said, damn, and we were sweating. But then we kind of got to 200 tips and then 400 tips. And then, once we cracked something like 700, we said, well, gotta get to 1,000, right? So we kind of persevered. Some tipsters kind of said, we refocused and said, we can't do it really. Then Leon Tribe joined us recently. Then Derek Borman started a video channel. So we have youtube.com/CRM tip of the day. So we've got hundreds of videos there, not hundreds, like dozens of videos there. And it started to grow and started getting traction. So we got thousands of like followers, subscribers. So it's doing really, really well. It's kind of get to the point, we're still doing it. It's kind of thing I really, really like. And, we're still doing it and we'll continue to do it. Perhaps we're not as obsessed with doing it 5 days a week as we were before, but it's still going strong. We've got guest contributions, so it's really, really going well. And I would like to maintain that and continue that. But then again, we got a bit bored, so we said, what can we do? I said, why don't we try a podcast? At that point in time, I think we knew one other podcast, and we said, surely we can, we can do as good job as this podcast. And we got together with Joel and Sean Tabor, and we started CRM Audio. So that's where it all kind of started, and suddenly people started to listen. And yeah, it was a new thing in our domain. People talking, if you roll back a few years, I think there were episodes when I was even reading SDK. We had a segment where I was reading SDK for 5 minutes and until someone said, oh, please stop. Anyway, so it was a good mix because of like personalities, and we have different we occupy different niches in Dynamics. Like Joe is not consultant, he's more of an architect. Sean is more like senior architect consultant as well, and I'm developer by trade. So it's kind of got interesting. But then we said, well, we just talking in general. Let's talk about something specific. And we started, different podcasts. Now we have like branching out. We have Power BI. You joined in as well, and then we have methodology about Scrum with Neil, and we have productivity podcast, and Joel maintaining it all. I just come every now and then and talk about nothing, about Dynamics mostly, but just chatting. But Joel does a great job of this podcast, and suddenly we grew up like into a number of podcasts within the framework. So we kind of a network with CRM Audio. It's a network of podcasts all around Dynamics, but because Dynamics is so big, there's so many facets to it. So there's always something to talk about. So now I'm kind of thinking it's time for a new thing. So absolutely, we'll see what comes out. That I've got a couple ideas up my sleeve, so we'll see what comes out of it.
Sounds good. Tell me one thing. You're obviously English is your second language, and there's a lot of MVPs or a lot of folks around the world that English is not their primary language, and therefore there's kind of like that they worry about whether they've got anything to contribute, or because they can't necessarily articulate something in English. Is there still can they be part of that community? What's your thoughts, or what's your advice to those people that English is not their primary language? They might not be as fluent as you are in English. What's your advice?
Well, a few things. First of all, I wasn't fluent all my life, right? It grows on you. So the more you talk, the more you can read, the more you study, the better you become. It depends what you want to do. I mean, some people are extroverts by nature, some people are introverts, some people have a fear of talking regardless of the language. Some people are fine with that. I'm kind of, I love to talk during the conferences, presenting and things like that. So what helps is like recording yourself, listening to yourself, paying attention to what you're saying, how you're saying, and so on and so forth. But depending on what your language is, what your mother tongue is, you can do various things. For example, if language is widely spoken, something like Spanish, did you know that we have a whole Spanish-speaking Dynamics 365 community run by a few Spanish-speaking MVPs? Most recently, I was talking to Sergio, and they've got the site comunidado365.com or something like this. I'm sure we'll find and put the reference in the podcast in the notes, but it's the whole world. It's like they're big. They're huge.
I think there are over 2,000 or 3,000 people in that community, right?
Yeah, which is kind of not quite the same as English speaking, but on par, like same number of digits, within that community. So if you do have community of people who speak the same language, absolutely join it. But if you kind of still concerned about your language, you can always pick up the domain where language is kind of not required, but not you don't have to speak fluent. And the good example of that is you can contribute to open source and develop tools and contribute to existing tools. Say Tanguy, well, his English is very good, but even if he couldn't speak a word of English, we wouldn't hold it against him, because the whole ecosystem he created is amazing, right? So he contributed day after day, started small, and then it grew up and then became XRM Toolbox. It's like ecosystem, its own environment. Lots of people contribute to it, and he's not a native English speaker. So, practice. And the other thing is that technical community is really forgiving. If you speak with an accent, if you mispronounce, if you don't speak perfect English, everyone's fine with that, because we come from all over the world. I would say for most people, English is not their first language. Right. So when we get together during the MVP summit, you have more non-English speakers than you have English speakers.
Yeah. Like what about do you remember Fujio Kojima, who we see every MVP summit? He's a .NET MVP from Japan, Absolutely. And yet he doesn't speak a lot of English, but we always seem to communicate. We all like a drop or two to drink, and can communicate, even though we're not fluent in Japanese, even though I know that's one of your favorite countries.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing you have to always think in other terms, right? So, for example, he may speak broken English, but I'm sure that his English is 1,000 times better than my Japanese.
Yeah,
right. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you speak two languages, you can always get back and say, hey, look, my English is still better than, in my case, like you're Russian, for example, though you've been to Russia, right? So yeah,
I've got 5 words. I've got пожалуйста, спасибо, да, нет. That's about it.
Oh, the rest I probably know what you were going to say. Better leave it out. I'm sure.
Yes. But yeah, that's the limit of my 2 weeks in Russia.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But as I said, look, don't be shy. It's the last thing on everyone's mind, like to judge you by the language. It's if we start digging into, you always have nutheads around the world, right? Regardless, it really doesn't matter. They're gonna pick on something. Like, is it language? Is it how you look? Is it how you walk? It doesn't matter. just an excuse to pick up on something. So those idiots always going to be around. That's the human nature, unfortunately. So don't pay attention to that. Just ignore. Same as online. There's always going to be trolls, and just the best thing you can do, just ignore. Don't inflame.
So when I was looking at some, when I was running some background checks on you, and
that sounds scary.
yeah, using our good friend Google, and I come across this article that you studied alcohol dehydrogenase. I don't even know if I can pronounce it. What is this?
Yeah, that's you probably found it on Facebook or something.
Is that consumption of alcohol? Studying
No,
consumption of
no.
alcohol?
What you're referring to is an enzyme that breaks down alcohol in your blood, and that refers to the wild years I spent in university. There were a lot of you had to possess a decent level of enzyme to survive in those environments. So. But funny enough, it's all the same around the world, as far as I can tell.
So just a little question about Russian vodka. As I say, I traveled last year across coast to coast to Russia, and Russian vodka, and I'm talking about, homemade Russian vodka, so no brand or anything.
Oh, moonshine. Okay.
Yeah, I was surprised that it was just, how would you say, or even let's say what I would consider a cheap bottle of vodka in the shop. You couldn't fault it. It was nothing like what we seem to have, what you can get at the bar. You feel like in the Western world, the Russian vodka was amazing. What's the story there?
What's your question?
Wow, how come?
Well, take any Are you drinking vodka? I hear there's some slurping going on. I've heard some liquid in the background.
You are correct, but it's not vodka.
No, look, it's as with any agricultural product, right? Let's say your mom makes a cake, right? And you eat it and you say, oof, right? So this is so much better than most of the commercial cakes, right? So how come? Well, because you kind of refine the process. It's all about processes, you refine it, you perfect it, and you tune it to your own taste. So that's important. You do it as you like it, and you can tweak it. Whilst commercial is it's basically aiming for average, and it's about cost cutting. It's about chemistry. It's different beast. It was one of the most disturbing documentaries I ever watched in my life. I remember a few years back, I watched a documentary about commercial food and what people do and how they study and the way. I never looked at commercial food ever again the same way, because what they do is like you wouldn't do it in your own kitchen because it wouldn't work. It serves no purpose in your kitchen on the scale, but it serves different purpose to produce on the scale, to preserve. They add ingredients like you wouldn't think, like anti-flatulent. Some powder so you don't fart after eating burger or something like this. Same, I suppose the same is with vodka. I mean, it's agricultural product. You do it right, it comes out right. Oh, believe me, you can start. Yeah, I've tasted homemade vodka that I would never wish on my enemy. It's like, still remember the taste and aftermath.
Wow, it wasn't my experience. Listen, tell me, casting your eye back over the last 11, 12 years of being an MVP, what opportunities do you feel have been afforded you, if you like, by having the exposure into the MVP program? Like everyone talks about, it's great and engaging with the product team, but like I know particularly in what I've seen of your career over the period of time I've known you, you seem to travel a lot. Do you think that's a part and parcel of the opportunity that's been afforded you? Tell us about that.
No, I don't think the travel kind of is. I do the traveling because I'm MVP. I travel because I do public speaking. I do a lot of training. So I kind of got involved with the partner readiness program. To a certain extent, MVP kind of opened some doors for me that were not that open before. I mean, technically speaking, you don't have to be an MVP to kind of get into opportunity like that. But if you are, it's kind of you're more likely to get this opportunity presented to you. So it's kind of like any achievement, if you have a solid degree in agriculture, right? You more likely, to land a job within the, Agricultural Research Institute if you were just a farmer. I decided, I know a lot about, growing vegetables, so I'll go and join this institute because they have position open. No, it's kind of the person who's got degree, they've got advantage over you. So same with that. So as MVP, you kind of you've proven that you can present yourself, you can reach out to people, and people listen to you. So you're not ignored. So you possess some certain qualities that, in my case, were some of those qualities, they overlap with the qualities that required to do training. And then basically I was approached a long time ago by some local office. They knew my name. That's another thing. You are known within Microsoft as well. So it's not a connection to a product team per se. It's people within the product team, people within marketing or training or partner readiness. They heard your name and they kind of, what about this guy? So we need a guy. So, and that's how it all started. It took a long time. Believe me, it's not like, today you're sitting on your bum and tomorrow you jet setting all over the world. Now it took a few years basically to get, and sometimes sleepless nights because you have to deliver a virtual training in Seattle at 7 a.m. which kind of lands you in 1 a.m. or midnight in Sydney. Things like that. So definitely, it's a lot of work. But being an MVP, you kind of you can put your foot through some of the doors. I wouldn't say otherwise it would be close to you, but it would be harder for you to open it. So I'd say it's about the same as reaching out to product team. You're talking to people who are closer to the product, and you get some snippets of wisdom, snippets of information, and even what's important to me. It's not so much information per se. We've been together in the same room this week, right? And we had Microsofties coming over and talking to us. To me, they didn't say anything particularly new. They didn't say anything I didn't know before. What was important to me is what kind of people are driving the product at the moment. What mindset do they have? And I did like what I saw, right? So it basically boils down to the guy comes in, talks to us and says, I like this guy. I like the way he talks. I like his openness. I like his attitude. I'm saying, yeah, with this attitude, this openness, smartness, I can see them taking product, further and further. And I like the direction the product is taken. It's basically like you look at people who are behind the product and say, I like these people. So that's important, to meet people in person, to see who is behind the product. It's not the faceless crowd. They're individuals, and it's really, really exciting and good to get to know them.
Hey, to wrap up, people want to touch base with you. Your Twitter handle is George Dude. Where did you come up with what was with the dude on the end of George there?
I was trying to get George D and was taken. And I said, what else I can do? The dude, okay. sounds good. It works.
Excellent. Good to have you on the show, George. If you're listening and you want to connect with George, jump on his Twitter account, and of course anything Serum Tip of the Day, whether that be on YouTube, Twitter, or on the website. Check him out. Check him out on the podcast. But there, thanks once again. Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave feedback on your favorite podcast app. Full show notes can be found at nz365guide.com/35.